All right, let me pull up this scan. My goal for what I'm about to do now is just to give you some idea. This is not no big deal what I'm doing. It's just to give you an idea of kind of how I might look at a person's scan. So who was this? I had to chop these scans down and take screenshots so that the names of the people won't appear. I'm not going to tell you much about these people. I'm not going to tell you even their gender. I'm just going to tell you what they're dealing with. So this was number one. Okay, yes. So this particular client works in housekeeping and has been working in housekeeping for about 20 years. This particular client is dealing with massive amounts of pain. This client is always sick. The digestive system is shot, very sensitive to light, muscle pain, exhaustion, and doctors can't seem to find much going on. They can't seem to do much. So let's just take a look a bit at some areas of the scan. All right. So here are this person's meridians. So let's look at, from this standpoint, I'm going to be looking at the double reds or double blues, things that were out of balance both times. And so we've got the heart, we've got the small intestine, we've got the gallbladder, we've got the liver. Now this is a lot. You know, when you have this much that's out of balance in the meridian standpoint, when you have this, you know, meridian therapy is my thing. And when I see a meridian or two that's, you know, blue or red, I don't always just nose dive into it because, again, we're looking at the frequencies of these meridians. But when you have multiple meridians that are showing on the AO scanner that are double blue or double red, you're dealing usually with the person whose physical meridians are out of whack as well, because the frequency has been going on for so long that it's touching so many of these areas. I don't think that I've ever, you know, sometimes you can see a person that has most of their meridians are green. I don't think I've ever seen this person with most of their meridians green since I've been seeing this person. All right, so let's go there. So what are we looking at? Let's start thinking about this from the organ standpoint, because we have so many meridians that are out. So we're looking at the organs of the heart. The heart, we're going to be dealing with cardiovascular issues that are affecting the heart. Now, mind you, you also are looking at the pathways. And so when you look at the heart meridian and you look at the small intestine meridian, you see some similarities. You see that those arms here, where this shows you the path of the heart channel, and then this shows you the path of the small intestine channel. You notice something that's similar. You have one that is going up the inner portion of the arm on the side, and another one that's going right up the inner portion of the arm, pretty much right, you know, to the same extent, like right next to it. And the paths are very similar. You have the heart meridian that comes up here. Now, in this chart, it doesn't show you, but it then goes right through here. It actually comes, you know, this is the path outside, but then it goes into the body and into the heart. You have the small intestine meridian that goes up here, but it also goes around the respiratory area. And when it goes into the body, it too goes very close to the heart. So both of those are out of balance. One's blue, one's red. I don't really care. I'm not looking at for this from the standpoint of whether or not it's high or low. I'm looking at from the standpoint that it does not have the proper energy level to work. When we get to small intestine, we're going to be talking about, from the organ standpoint, absorbing nutrition. And this is where you're going to be dealing with minerals and vitamin absorption. And you're going to be dealing with well, I said minerals, but you're dealing with digestion, the earlier stages of the digestive process, or before the elimination takes place. All right, so you're coming down here then to the gallbladder. The gallbladder is the organ that's going to help you to break down fats and carbs. And you also then go over here to liver. and liver is we're dealing with blood issues. So you have two things that are happening with the liver. The liver actually sends enzymes to the rest of the body, and it is talking constantly to all of the organs because it's sending and receiving signals, and it's also purifying things or medication or even supplements. It all is filtered out through the liver. So the liver has a connection to both the digestive system and the blood because things are filtered in the liver before it ever gets to the blood. So you have the liver, you have the heart. So again, the heart pumps the blood, the liver filters the blood. There's a connection there. The liver is part of the digestive process, so it's also somehow connected to the small intestine and the gallbladder. And that's a lot going on from just the meridians. All right, so this is the same person, same day, same scan. We're going to look at their vitals. All right, so in their vitals, I'm looking at their vitals now from the standpoint of the easy scan. So everything here is out of balance. We're not looking at anything that did not come back out of balance. So we have the digestive system, gastric absorption, HCl. That's all part of the digestive system. We have inflammation. When we scroll down here to the cardiovascular, you have, well, even with bone density, you have several hits. Now, what do I tie the first part of the digestive function? We match that with what we saw in digestion in the meridians. And so from my standpoint, you have two hits on the digestive system. And then when you get down here to the cardiovascular system, you have another hit to what we saw dealing with the heart and the liver, because that is where we're dealing with blood. And then we get to the liver and the gallbladder function, and there are a couple of hits there. I'm looking at the screen. I just want to make sure you all can even see all of this stuff because I didn't clip this in the best way. All right, so what do we got? We got liver, or we have digestion, and we have blood, and we have several markers for each so far. All right, let's scroll down here, and we're looking at several hits in the allergies and the human toxins or toxicities area. Now, this person works with harsh chemicals all day long. It doesn't matter to me whether or not it's herbicide. It doesn't matter to me whether or not it's tobacco or stimulants or grass. If you'll notice, nowhere in these areas that I reference the specifics. I'm looking at the cardiovascular system, and my recommendation for heart and blood and cardiovascular isn't going to be determined by the specific marker that shows up. If I'm dealing with heart, if I'm dealing with digestion, if I'm dealing with cardiovascular, unless I am a surgeon that's going to cut into an area, then specifically dwelling on which marker is out of balance, from my vantage point, wastes my time. It makes me sound like I'm so smart. Look, Darryl was able to figure out that Pepsin 1.567 wasn't moving properly. What am I doing with that information? I'm going to do nothing more with that information than I would with what other area is in that same section. I'm looking at what in each section is not resonating properly so that I can match that with the symptom of the client. All right. Want to make sure I press the right one. All right. So from this vantage point, there's not a lot happening with parasites and viruses on this particular scan, but this client typically has a lot going on there. And another thing that you're looking at, and I feel hypocritical because I'm always telling you that you don't have to analyze the scan. I'm appealing to people who feel the need to analyze the scan. I'm just giving you ways to look at things as you analyze so you don't drive yourself crazy. If you're one who's not prone to analyzing, I don't want you to take this information and start analyzing. What I want you to do is to be proud of yourself that you're able to look at these scans and not obsess and say, ha ha ha, look at that Darryl wasting his time analyzing those scans and teaching those. This is where you have permission to mock all of us for getting into this. Just watch us and observe and giggle, if you will. All right. Where are we at here? So, coming down here to his or her comprehensive, you'll see some areas or markers in the respiratory system. And I'm seeing the skeleton, pelvis, sacrum. That doesn't necessarily mean a lot to me, but respiratory does, simply because I know what this person does for a living, and I know that they're constantly bringing in toxins. Nerves, the lymphatic system, I know that this person is prone to problems in that, but it's not specifically the red flag that I'm looking to support at this moment. Muscles, this person is always dealing with muscle pain everywhere, so we have some issues there. I believe that's the last one for that particular one. So what do we see? We're looking at digestion. We're looking at cardiovascular. So if I were looking at a scan like this from a person, and I were analyzing several scans or even just this one scan, if I wanted to support this person, I would create a Cephi that's going to support the digestive system, that's going to support absorption, and I would go into comprehensive. I would probably choose everything in the digestive system. I probably would choose all of the organs, simply because this person has such a level of toxicity that all of the organs need some help. And I would probably run and optimize that. I would run it once and then optimize it several times a day in order to try to help bring some relief and some balance there. And I would probably go to body systems scan, and I would run the circulatory system, and I would run the digestive system. And I would be doing that in order to get the frequencies there to optimize. That would be my goal. And I would probably take a look at those scans and just zero past all of the foolishness and go down to the emotions that I see in those areas. Why am I using the body system scan? Because I know from practical experience, and I know from looking at these scans, that this person has issues with their digestive system and their circulatory system. I knew it before the scan, but the scan is showing me that this is a physical manifestation as well as a frequency manifestation. So because I know this, the circulatory system and the digestive system body system scans are in play now, because I've determined that those areas need support. And so the way that I tend to support those areas is I pull the body system scan and I look at circulatory, and I run circulatory and optimize circulatory, in this case, circulatory and digestive. And I would look for the emotional causes or the frequencies around emotions. And I would just create a playlist from those specific frequencies because those frequencies are the frequencies connected to the system in body systems that are contributing to the problem that we're having on the scan. I'm already supporting from a frequency standpoint inside of Cephi. I'm supporting all of these areas. So that's the reason why I'm going to just kind of ignore the rest of the areas. But I do want to support their emotions. And I would create something based around what it is that they're actually experiencing. And I would probably create a Cephi playlist utilizing flower essences from, there's a whole flower essence course. Most of you have access to it. And even if you don't want to watch the whole course, I made cheat sheets where you can just download the manual and look at different out of balance expressions and show you which flowers are associated with that from the Bach flower standpoint, and create a Cephi playlist for their emotions. Now, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be supporting the person emotionally so that the emotions can come into balance, thus giving the physical manifestation the freedom that they need to come into balance, thus helping the emotions come easier into balance, thus helping the physical manifestation come easier into balance. Because one is not more important than the other. You need both of them on the same frequency to heal. What else am I going to do? I'm going to have this person on supplements, and they're going to be on utilizing digestive enzymes with every single meal. I'm probably going to create a supplement pack for them, but if I don't, whether I do or don't, the same supplements, I would be utilizing probably OptiGI, or did or do use OptiGI with this person. I probably would use a full spectrum B that include niacin that can get inside of there. If you're a Solex person, then pulse. Blue, along with red light therapy, is an amazing idea to get in there and clean that blood out. And if you're an OHS person, BFF is great because you're dealing with blood flow flexibility. And I would be supporting all of that with vitamin D, a high potency vitamin D, and another full spectrum B. So I would be using a B with niacin or B6. You could just take niacin alone if you want, but I would also have a full spectrum B in order to help them out. And I'm almost certain I would be using ubiquinol as well, CoQ10, in order to help clean out that blood. All right, so that is an analysis, just a quick, this is just Cliff Notes version. This is not designed to make you an expert or a pro on these scans, or even a pro on what to do, just to give you some idea of how you can look through your scans, how you can look through your client's scans, your family scans, and just try to figure out ways to help, ways to support, whether you pick one of these things or multiple things. You don't have to be an expert. You're dealing with frequency, and you're just looking at what's not in balance, combining it with what you already know about the person, and then choosing a path of support.